Hey guys, it's PJ, and I'm here with my friend Jeff Lehman for our podcast number 4. Inverted Podcast is all about talking about how the scripture sometimes in God's kingdom seems upside down. Maybe it's, instead of holding a grudge, God tells us to forgive. And that's a backward way of thinking in this world in which we live in. So, Jeff, we are super happy to have you today. Thank you for being a part of Inverted Podcast. First of all, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where did you come from? All that stuff.
Well, I'm Jeff Lehman. Raised my kids in Dallas, Texas. My wife and I have kind of been married 42 years. Lived in Minneapolis, lived in Omaha, lived in Kansas City, lived in Wichita. We've lived everywhere. But quite a while ago, I ended up in Dallas and raised our kids there. And then after about 15 years, I guess we moved to Fredericksburg, got to live in Fredericksburg, which is kind of cool.
Right.
Lived down there for 14 years. And then kind of for a couple different reasons, we decided to sell out and move, and we moved to Stephenville.
Okay. From Fredericksburg
to
Stephenville.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Too many people, but that's another story.
Right.
We've been here 3-4 years now.
Yeah. And you hang your hat in Colorado a little bit.
We have a little place in Colorado.
Okay. Very cool. Well, the Inverted Podcast is engaging folks who have lived an upside down experience. And again, maybe a difficult time. We've had people in here talking about their relationships. We had people in here talking about mental health. Todd was in here talking about his journey with overcoming alcohol with Jesus. And today we're going to be jumping off the passage, James 1, because you have a unique story. And I want to read James 1 first. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you will be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Now, all of us want to be mature and complete, right? I'm waiting on that.
I know where you're going.
It's so funny, being 48 now, and you at one point I thought when I was 20, 25, I thought I'm going to feel different one day. And I don't. I feel exactly the same, at least up here. I want to have fun and all that stuff, but I still don't think I've grown up. And my wife would question my maturity sometimes.
I have not grown up either, just for the record.
Good. So considering it pure joy when you face trials. We all would sit in this room with Cody behind the camera, me here, and you where you're sitting. Everyone in their journey has experienced some type of trial. But for you, Jeff, and for your wife, you guys have experienced a trial like no other. Can you tell us a little bit about that trial?
Sure. So I guess 19 years ago, on a Saturday morning, our daughter was just finished her junior year in high school. She's going to take her college SATs. So Saturday morning, we fix her pancakes, say goodbye to her. And the cool thing is she went out, got in her car, came back in the house after we thought she had left, and gave us kisses, told us she loved us, and then left. And that was the last time we ever saw her.
Oh, my goodness.
And so we were living in Midlothian at the time, and she is killed over in Alvarado, over on I-35 on an access road, and 2-car accident. It was her fault, or mostly her fault. And
how did you find out about the wreck? What happened?
So
going through that.
I don't know exactly what time, but about 10:30, let's say, that morning, our doorbell rings in Midlothian, and my wife goes and answers it.
Yes.
Lori. And she said, "There's a policeman here and he wants to talk to you."
Right.
And as the father of also at that time, a 16-year-old boy, I was like, here we go.
Yes.
What did Justin do? Right. And so it was a plainclothes detective. And he asked me to walk out to his car with him. And I tell people, they ask you 3 questions. And by the time the 3rd question is out of his mouth, you know something really, you pretty much know what has happened. Something really bad has happened. And so that's how we found out. Midlothian detective came to our house and told us, our daughter had been killed in a car wreck and her body was in the Johnson County morgue.
What was the initial, do you remember the next few days after that?
Yeah, yes. The house, because she was a junior in high school.
Yes.
Man, the house, that word spread through our little town in Midlothian like wildfire. And so within that afternoon, our house has, tons of people, 100 people or whatever, a lot of people, cars parked all over our yard, all over our neighbor's yard. So that's Saturday. I doubt I slept Saturday night. The grief and the stress is really what I remember. It is unbelievable.
Did you question yourself if you would have done this or if you'd have done that?
You question everything. Sure. Yeah. You question everything. The crazy part, I guess, is that I was raised a Catholic, but honestly, I was the most rebellious high school, junior high Catholic boy there was, in a sense. So, listen, I had no relationship with God. We had just started going to a new church, the Cowboy Church of Ellis County, about 6 months before that. And so the reason I'm telling you this is the very next day is Sunday.
Right.
And I had called our pastor that Saturday and just said, listen, you don't know me because I'm a back row Catholic, even though we're going to the Cowboy Church at the time. But I said, you don't know me, but this is who I am. And our daughter was just killed in a car wreck and I need you.
Yes.
And so the next day, Sunday, I went to church and we have a house full of friends and family. And when I stand up and tell them that I am going to church, people looked at me like I had 3 heads. I don't think they could believe that was coming out of my mouth. Right. And I think they thought I was crazy for wanting to go to church. I mean, that's all I could think of. So that's my, besides other things, those are my main recollections of the first few days.
Why did you want to go to church? Do you remember?
Yeah, listen, I was a sales manager. I consider myself an exceptional problem solver. Okay. That's all I did was fix things. And I could fix anything in our business world. I was good at it. And I knew I couldn't fix this, John.
Well, we go back and you've thrown some stuff in here, which helps. It says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters. So there's that community, which you had a community around you. We won't deal with the consider it pure joy yet. Whenever you face trials of any kind, check. Right?
Check.
This is not only a trial. I think we could use stronger words there.
Yeah.
And it says, consider it pure joy. How many years ago was this? 19. If I would have walked up to you 19 years ago and said, hey, this verse.
Yeah, it's not there.
You didn't, it wouldn't have been there. I mean, it's not like you went to church that day and all of a sudden like, oh no, okay, I figured it all out.
No.
So would you say you have joy today from this situation?
Oh yeah.
Now, how do you divide that and cut it up? Because you would think that you're saying that you have joy that your daughter's gone, but of course you don't, right? Do you wish she was here?
I've said this before, and this is probably the most shocking thing I've said when I've given my testimony. And that is, if I could turn the clock back, I would not change anything. And not many people would probably say that. Right. I'm saying I would not change anything. And that gets pretty heavy pretty quick. And I for sure don't have all the solutions to the world's problems, but this is what I know, that we went to counseling, and the associate pastor at the Cowboy Church of Ellis County, he was my counselor, Rick McKenzie.
Right.
And one day Rick's talking to me, and so, man, within, I don't even know, but let's just say within a month, within weeks, we're going to counseling because I'm a mess. You know, I'm a mess.
Right.
And one day out of the blue, Rick says to me, he didn't know Jenny, but he had figured out who she was through all the testimonies of my daughter. And so one day out of the blue, Rick says to me, just like out of the blue, he just said, you know, she wouldn't want to come back. And I was like, what? And he said, listen, I never met your daughter, but I know your daughter.
Oh, wow.
And he said, she was obviously a big believer. You know, honestly, like some of our young kids.
Right.
And I was not like that. And so Rick said, Jeff, she is exactly where she wanted to be.
Did you receive that? Did you punch him? Or
I did. You know, no. You know, I think I had to think about it for a while. And I like to say I'm a little bit slower than the average. So I had to think about it and probably rehear that. But I heard what he said. And basically what he was telling me is, and he was really right. He's like, Jenny was not people called her the party police. She was not, the typical young girl at that age. So anyway, I believed it because I knew quickly I was learning that my daughter was I knew she was righteous, but she's very righteous. And I accepted that, and I think that helped me move to whatever the next phase was. Yeah. Even though
it's more of a cycle.
Yeah,
right?
It's not like I moved that day, but no, I believed him.
The verse says, "Consider it pure joy," and then it has that comma, and then over trials, because the joy, it seems to connect to the testing your faith, which produces perfect perseverance. Perseverance finishes the work so that it may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. So speak of your faith. How did your faith grow? Where did perseverance come in and being mature and complete? I guess starting there, I always like the end first.
I got tested. The reason I told you I love this verse.
Okay.
And I love this verse. And the reason is because I didn't get tested. I mean, I didn't get tested one time. I got tested like 20 times. And Jenny was the first one. Right. And then I had a lot of business tests. And for sure, so I was working for a large corporation. I started to kind of hate them through the grief struggle. You know, right. I thought, oh, this is not gonna turn out well if I don't change. And so I quit them and started my own company. And so the second challenge was that I had this job where I was pretty powerful. I ran 22 states. No one looked up my skirt. I had full control of what I was running, honestly. And I'd been there 13 years, so everybody knew me, and you know, it was a good thing. And but I had to quit that job. So that was like test number 2.
Right.
And then I start my own company, and over the next 15 years, I had 2 companies go bankrupt. I'm 100% commission guy.
Okay.
I get paid 60 to 90 days in arrears. So every time those companies go bankrupt, I get zero money.
Okay.
And I have to start over.
Right.
And so that happened twice. A third test along the way is that one company in Rogers, Texas, Widner Products, burned to the ground.
Oh, wow.
I'm working for them, selling all their trim to all my customers in Texas. They burned to the ground. That company's done.
Right.
They're not going to recover. And so this testing of your faith, what I learned, John, is that it was really painful, but each one of these times, and I'm telling you, I just gave you a quick synopsis of 15 years, but each time that one of these things happened, I had to start over, and every time it worked out. And every time I made as much or more money,
right.
Every time I had some person that I didn't know call me and offer me something. And I came away from that just saying, God did all that.
Right.
Because there are crazy stories that I haven't even really told people that only God could do all these crazy things. And so I learned slowly, because I'm a slow learner, that, here we go. Another plant burned down. A company's going to go bankrupt, whatever. Something bad was fixing to happen. I was going to lose money. But that I was going to give that to God. He was going to work it out, and I was just going to sit back.
Okay.
I mean, I was going to go do my job. I was going to go work my butt off and do my job. But I was going to trust that God would figure this thing out.
So that's where the faith comes in. It's you understanding you have no control.
Yeah.
You just need to show up.
Yep.
But a job's one thing, but losing your daughter is another, right?
Yeah.
Because one seems replaceable and obviously one is not.
Yeah.
What's the difference between those two?
I'll tell you something that I don't think you've heard, John.
Okay.
The guys at the where I gave my testimony, they might have heard this, or I think I said it. I don't really know. But Sunday, the day after my daughter's killed in that wreck, our daughter, Pastor Gary Morgan comes over to my house Sunday afternoon, and I'd never met Pastor Gary. He did not know who I was. Like I said, I'm a back row guy. And so he literally rings my doorbell, John. I answer the door, and he introduces himself to me. And I promise you the first words out of his mouth were, I want you to know this will destroy most families.
Right.
And, you guys are kind of just getting to know me. But I was definitely a type A guy, or I still am, I guess. And that I felt like that was exactly what Jeff needed to hear. I didn't need any sugarcoat and stuff. I needed someone to hit me between my eyes and wake me up. And so, John, honestly, right then, I just decided I don't care if I lose my job. I don't care what happens. I don't care if I lose my house. I don't care. I'm going to save my family. And so I went into my typical attack mode, but only my attack mode was, what do I have to do to save my family?
Right.
And so, we have a 16-year-old son that I'm worried about him because they were 16 months apart.
Right.
And so that's why we went to counseling. I did anything and everything, but I appreciated Gary so much. And I think that was just God talking to him, saying, I think I know what Jeff needs to hear.
Yes. So that passage, what does it mean to you now? If somebody came up to you and said, okay, what is consider it pure joy? What is joy from that, from this trial specifically? What does joy look like for you? Because I think that's a hard word.
For sure. Listen, I'm choking up now, talking about Jenny, obviously. I will always choke up talking about Jenny. She was me in a girl's body. Oh my gosh, I love her and I miss her. But I'm grateful to God that I'm a happy guy now. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful that I didn't hurt that guy that hit my daughter.
Right.
And he ends up suing us, that just floors people. Right. Like, we got sued too. He didn't even go to the hospital and he sues us. Right. But I'm grateful that my marriage has survived. I've been married 42 years. Okay. I've been blessed with a lot of stuff. One of my takeaways, John, was that I'm really glad that we're having these Saturday morning men's breakfasts. Yes. Because I've told people that when we were going to the Cowboy Church over by Waxahachie, I learned there, I used to kind of feel sorry for myself. And then I learned there on a Saturday morning talking to people, everybody's got a problem. It's just a matter of what is it and where are they in that problem. And my takeaway, honestly, was that, gosh, I've had a great marriage for 42 years. I had 2 outstanding children. Our son's 35, 37 years old, Texas A&M grad, got a great job, great wife. So I've always had great jobs. I've never really failed in a job. I've always done pretty well. And so I just figured out this was my cross. Right. But some guy, I'm just going to say guys, some guys' cross are drugs, porn, can't hold a job, whatever. You know, that everybody has something. It's just a matter of what. Yes. And if I know where my daughter is, then I'll see her again.
Right.
I'll miss her.
Right.
Big time right now. But I will see her again. I do believe in God.
That's the hope, right? Consider it pure joy because, you know, perseverance, character, hope.
Yep.
So the perseverance, you getting through this has helped you down the road with other things you had to get through.
Sure, yes.
Perseverance, character, it changed who you are. You're saying, hey, it's time to focus on the family.
It really changed me.
Yeah. And then honestly. And then you wrap it up with the hope. I mean, you're going to see her one day.
Amen.
And that is beautiful. Now, this podcast will come out after Father's Day. What does Father's Day look like for you?
Sad. Yeah, so my birthday, so Jenny was killed June 4th.
Okay.
So my birthday is Memorial Day weekend. It's May 28th. Okay. And so, man, we used to have a lake house out at Cedar Creek. I loved to dance. So I loved to teach my daughter who, you know, she was 17. I loved to teach her to two-step and to swing dance. And I used to tell her, you know, baby, you got to know how to dance. Like, I don't care if you're the cutest girl in the room. If you can't dance, you know, no one wants, it's a problem. You got to know how to dance. So
I thought dads kept their daughters off the dance floor.
No. You know, everybody in my family dances.
Okay.
So I took her. So we're out at the lake. We're out at Cedar Creek Memorial Day weekend, and she and I are swing dancing to this little Zydeco band. It's just so much fun. And then of course she's killed the next weekend, and so my birthday's a downer. June 4th is a downer. Father's Day is really depressing. But that's true for anybody that's had a lot of losses.
I'm glad you said that because that's joy packaged, right? Doesn't say that we're going to feel good all the time,
right?
But there's evidence of that joy in your life, the perseverance, character hope. Now, here's the thing I wanted to ask too. If God allowed her to walk in this room today, what do you think she would tell you? Have you ever thought about that? What would you tell her? And then what do you think she would tell you? And I know that was a surprise question. I just...
Yes, always kind of surprised.
My head always goes, and you're doing a great job.
You know, I kind of would... this sounds kind of crazy, I guess, but I would thank her because, listen, her death brought me to God. And when something really bad happens, I'm convinced that things only go one of two ways. There's nothing else.
Right.
There are no other options. You know, you're either gonna accept it and try to get God in your life and work around it, or you're not, and you're gonna go another direction, and it's probably not gonna work for you.
Right.
So I would thank her because the truth is, I say I found God at the bottom of a deep valley, and you know, I didn't find. For me, I did not find God a week later, a month later. Right. You know, honestly, I don't know. 2 years later, it took a while for the package to come together, and I was pretty messed up. I'd almost say for about 6 years, and some would argue 19 years, which would take you to today. But I don't know.
What would she tell you? What do you think she'd say?
Oh, I know what she'd say. She'd say she's really proud of me.
That's cool.
Because I have really, I've lost a lot of my ego, whether people believe it or not. I've been humbled. That was a word I used a lot when it right after it happened. And for the next X number of years, I would tell people, oh, I've been humbled like you don't know.
Right.
Because in my professional career, I could like fix anything. They sent me to Brooklyn, New York to fix a problem. Like I could fix things. I just love talking to people. But John, I could not fix that.
No. But she'd be proud of you.
Oh yeah. She'd be proud of where, how far I've come, I think.
Yeah.
I know actually.
So we're about to wrap up. So let's say we have, hopefully not as heavy of a situation that y'all had to go through, but let's say there's someone out there going through a trial, and they're a follower of Christ. What encouragement can you give them? How do you journey through a trial? Is there a pattern you have to follow, or just, how do they do this? How do they do the trial? Listen, all I can tell them is what I did. Okay.
And I found it really helpful to surround myself with, in my case, men that had gone through loss like I had gone through. Right. And so I found those people.
Yes.
Or actually, those people probably found me.
So don't do it alone.
So yeah. So
do not do it alone.
And I think that's really, really important. I think you've got to find people that really understand what you're fixing to go through, and can give you, and those people need to be Christian based. They need to give you solid advice, not let's go drink or whatever. And so, but I think it's surround yourself with the right people. Now I say this now, and I probably didn't totally know how it was going to play out, but I'm really passionate and pretty grateful for the right churches. And by that, I just mean a place, a body of people that will love on you.
Yes.
And for me, at the time, the Cowboy Church of Ellis County, that was those people. And those lay pastors and the pastors there, gosh, they picked me up when I couldn't even hardly crawl.
Right.
And they later, it's kind of funny, but I'm pretty proud of it. They later asked me to be a lay pastor for them. And I kind of jokingly say I was their grief guy because, that was my skill set, was to go talk to people and hopefully try to give them hope to get through whatever they were going through. So I think you have to surround yourself with the right people.
Yes.
And I found joy in reading the Bible and then starting to connect the dots. And I had never read the Bible before age 45.
Wow.
And so that's how I did it.
For me, being a pastor, one of my favorite things is to be able to have people like you in my life that I think if they would extend Hebrews 11, that passage about faith, that y'all would make it. And what I mean by that is it's easy to proclaim Jesus and to shout the hallelujahs when everything is going well. But when things go south, you lose a daughter, that's when the faith becomes real.
Yeah. I kind of have a hard time when I see people doing exactly what you said, John. And this, you might want to edit this out, but I have a hard time when people but when people praise God for getting showered with blessings. And I'm like, I wonder how that person's going to do when the storm hits the Gulf Coast, and that's kind of a little bit of the bitterness, I guess, of losing your daughter that,
Well, Jeff, it is a pleasure again to, join you in life, in your story, in the Inverted podcast. And it's just awesome to have people that are living this inverted life, this life that doesn't make sense to those that are watching. But if they go through, and when they go through that same story, they're able to say, okay, what made the difference in your life? And ultimately it's Jesus. And I am excited to see how God's going to continue to write y'all's story. as it influences people here at TRC and other places. So thank you again for joining us. And we look forward to joining you again next week for Inverted Podcast number 5. Thank you, guys.